this means. I'm joined for an exclusive interview by Jessica Rosenworcel. She's a current commissioner, one of the 5 commissioners for the Federal Communications Commission, recently reappointed by President Trump. Jessica, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're a Democratic commissioner. I know you don't see eye to eye with President Trump. Tell us first how FCC licenses work. They're not given out to networks. They're given out to local stations, right?
That's right. They are not given out to networks, just local stations. We have about 1,800 of them all across the country, and they have licenses for 8-year periods. And when those licenses are up, the agency assesses those stations and makes sure that they have complied with FCC rules and policy, and they also make sure that that station has served their community.
Is it political, Jessica? Do you look at a station and say, that station's anti-Trump, it's got to go off the airwaves?
No, absolutely not. I think it's essential that the FCC and all that it does is careful to abide by the First Amendment when it engages in any kind of policies involving broadcast licensees.
Is there any precedent for a president saying that we should take a look at those licenses?
You know, I think we have to go back to the early 70s when President Nixon expressed a little displeasure with some stations that were owned by the Washington Post Company
in the midst of Watergate reporting, right?
Exactly. Right. And some of his allies sought to get those licenses revoked. That was not ultimately successful, but that's useful precedent in this case.
So this is incredibly unusual, but let's take it a step further. Does it worry you that the president is talking about maybe possibly trying to have licenses revoked?
Well, I think it's important to realize that the Supreme Court characterizes our First Amendment as a profound national commitment to having robust, uninhibited, and wide open debate. And, you know, that debate can sometimes be hard-hitting for public officials, but it is absolutely essential that we support the First Amendment in everything that the FCC does.
If that's the case, where are your other commissioners? Why hasn't your chairman, Ajit Pai, spoken out about this?
Well, I can't really speak to what he's thinking, but I do think that history won't be kind to silence, and I think it's important for all the commissioners to make clear that they support the First Amendment and that the agency will not revoke a broadcast license simply because the president is dissatisfied with the licensee's coverage.
How's this going to go down? Let's play this out for 1 minute. So licenses are renewed every 8 years. You probably wouldn't agree with me, but I would call it normally a rubber stamp process. What I mean by that is licenses are almost always renewed for every person, every company that already has a license. So what would happen in 2 years if one of Trump's friends in a local market decided to challenge a license? Is it possible we could actually see Trump's words turn into actions?
Well, I would hope not. I think we have to honor the First Amendment and our democratic norms associated with it. And I don't think that the government should be in the business of substituting its judgment for programming licensees. I think it's essential for news gathering that the government isn't dictating what content should and shouldn't be on the airwaves.
And quickly, Jessica, since I have you here, there's a lot of concern on the left about Sinclair taking over Tribune. Sinclair has a conservative bent and is trying to buy more TV stations. Are you involved? Was the SEC reviewing this?
That's a transaction that's presently before us, and while I can't prejudge its outcome, I've certainly expressed some concern. My concern is primarily this. It would be unprecedented for the agency to allow a broadcaster to get this large and reach more than 70% of American households all across the country. And I think that with that large size, we lose something about the local quality of broadcasting, and I think that's something we should be worried about.
All right, Jessica, thanks for being here. Hope to have you back soon.
Thank you.